So it's finally your turn in D&D, but you've no idea what to do. Don't worry, this video is here to help. That's one of the things you can do, but let's not jump ahead. On your turn, there are 4 main groups of things you can do: movement, communication, interaction, and actions. We'll cover each and then go through some examples. You can use the video chapters to jump sections. While actions often have the most impact on the game, we'll look at them last. You'll see why later. Let's look at movement first. On your turn, you can move up to your character's speed in distance, and you can break your movement into sections if you want to use an action or interaction between steps. If you want to move more than your speed, you can use the dash action to get some extra movement, but we're skipping ahead again there. If you're playing on a grid map, each square or hex typically represents 5 foot of space, even diagonals on a square grid. You should watch out for opportunity attacks, and you can use the Disengage action to avoid them completely. But movement deserves a video of its own, so make sure to subscribe to catch it. A round in D&D is 6 seconds long, which is plenty of time for a little parlay. You can communicate for up to 6 seconds of in-game time as a free action. That is, it doesn't cost you your main action. Communication can be verbal, but don't forget the non-verbal too. Hand signals, banging on your shield, and telepathy all count. Pretty often, the 6-second rule is forgotten, and that's probably for the best in most cases. If you have a really cool idea in D&D, it's almost always best to lean into it because it will usually improve the game. Don't try and give a monologue during your turn though, your DM probably won't allow it. And watch out if you're wanting to influence another non-player actor. That costs you the influence action and can't be done as part of your free communication. The game world is full of doors, levers, and backpacks, and you get a free interaction every turn to play with them. Lots of things fall under this. You can retrieve an item from a belt or backpack, stow or sheath a weapon, or grab a crystal skull from an altar. Watch out with shields though, because rules as written, it takes a full action to either put on or put away a shield. You only get 1 free interaction per turn. If you want to interact with more things in the environment, that's what the utilize action is for. You also can't use your free interaction to interact with magical objects. That's the magic action. So what about actions? Again, there are 4 types. Action, which I'll call main action, bonus action, reaction, and free action. Again, we'll leave the main action for last. Free action doesn't get its own section in the rulebook, but as we've already seen, communication and interaction both essentially give you free actions. Some class features, such as Wild Resurgence for the Druid, let you do things on your turn that don't cost you any type of action. While these features don't cost an action, there may be limitations in how often you can use them. There are other things that you'd expect you should be able to do without much expenditure of effort as well, such as dropping an item or weapon you're holding. Reactions are just that, ways in which your character reacts to their external environment. A reaction is a special type of action that you can do once between each of your turns, and most often, you'll do it on an ally or opponent's turn. The most common types of reaction are spells like Counterspell, class features like Uncanny Dodge for the rogue, and the ready action, which we'll come to soon. And if you're wanting to show off and counterspell your own fireball, think again. You can only cast 1 spell that costs a spell slot each turn. You get a bonus action you can use each turn, but many characters can't do much with it. That's because you can only use a bonus action if you have a spell or ability that lets you. If you're really wanting to make the best use of your actions every turn, consider playing a rogue or a monk. At level 2, rogues can use certain main actions as a bonus action, and even from level 1, monks get to make an extra unarmed strike. Okay, so now for the main attraction, the main action. You only get 1 of these per turn, so choose wisely. There's quite a long list of main actions you can take, and we've heard about some of these already. Dash adds your speed again to your movement that turn, so you can move a total of up to twice your speed. As with your standard movement, you can use actions or interactions between steps of movement. You can dash and use an action with certain class features, like Cunning Action for the Rogue or Action Surge for the Fighter. Disengage lets you ignore opportunity attacks during your turn. Influence lets you try to influence another actor by intimidation, deception, performance, persuasion, or animal handling. Utilize lets you interact with a non-magical object. Your free interaction lets you do this once per turn. The utilize action is there if you want to interact with more than one object. DM judgment rules here. If you're wanting to open and close a door, your GM might decide you can do that for free, or they might decide that you need to use your utilize action or wait a turn to do both. But if you're wanting to interact with a magical object, you'll need to use the magic action. But that's not its main use. The main use is to cast a spell or use a magical feature. Dodge lets you play defensively. If you dodge, enemies roll all attacks against you with disadvantage until your next turn. That means every time they attack, they need to roll their d20 twice and take the worst result. This gives you a significant survivability edge, especially if you expect to take a lot of attacks. But they often say that the best defense is a good offense, and if you dodge, you typically can't attack. The attack action lets you attack with a weapon or unarmed strike. It's one of the most common actions taken, especially if you're playing a martial character like a fighter or barbarian. When you have multiple attacks available through extra attack, you can move, attack, move, attack, move, attack, and so on. Note that casting a spell that makes an attack roll is technically the magic action. Hide lets you play all sneaky like. You make a stealth check to hide, but you can only take the action if you're heavily obscured or in cover, and you're out of line of sight of any opponent. Now for some of the less commonly used actions. You can search an area by making an insight, medicine, perception, or survival check to learn more or find hidden details. You can study an object or actor by making an arcana, history, investigation, medicine, or nature check. The ready action is one of my favorites and it's great for tactical play. This delays your action, so rather than taking it now, you take it when a certain trigger happens. You state the trigger and the action you'll take if the trigger happens, and you need to use your reaction to take the readied action. Examples include making an attack, casting a spell, or running away if an enemy comes in range, or closing a door when the last ally comes through it. Closing the circle, we come all the way back to the help action. This lets you either help a nearby ally make a skill check, or help an ally make an attack against an enemy within 5 feet of you. In both cases, the effect is to give your ally advantage on their roll, which means that they'll roll 2 d20s and take the higher result. Wow, that was a lot to digest, wasn't it? Well, you're in luck. There's an easier way to remember it. The rules are all in the D&D Player's Handbook. But if you want to keep your bookshelf light and your coin purse full, I put together a free set of reference cards for these and other D&D roles that you can download from the link in the description. This video was made for the 2024 version of the D&D 5th edition rules. There aren't many differences from the 2014 version, but I haven't updated the reference cards yet. If you want me to make the updates, let me know in the comments. Okay, so let's look at some realistic examples. I'm playing Zunun the Druid in a solo adventure, and I was surprised by a rampaging goblin. The goblin took a shot at me and missed, and it's my turn. Since I was surprised, I don't have my weapon out. I have a movement, interaction, communication, main action and bonus action, and any number of free actions to play with. I use my interaction to equip my quarterstaff, and then my bonus action to cast this shillelagh cantrip, which makes it a hard-hitting magical quarterstaff. I use 20 feet of movement to run over to the goblin, and my free communication to cry out that the goblin is doomed as they're all alone and I have a magical quarterstaff. But I didn't use the influence action, so this can't have any gameplay impact and it's just for flavor. I then use the attack action to make a melee attack against the lone goblin. I still have 10 feet of movement left, so I'll use it to sidestep around the goblin just because I can. I don't want to run away from them because they're using a bow and they get disadvantage when I'm within 5 feet. I used every resource available to me other than my reaction, which is typically used between turns, and free actions like dropping items or using abilities which weren't relevant here. If you're wanting to make the most of your turns, make sure you check off as many of the action types as you can. Now for a second example. Let's imagine it isn't a solo adventure and I ran in ahead of the party to face the lone goblin. Little did I know there were more goblins hiding in the bushes, and they jumped out to surround me after my turn. One of them got a nasty hit in. I'm not completely surrounded, so I have a few choices. I could use my main action to disengage and move back to safety with the rest of the party. I could use the utilize action to equip my shield. Remember, this isn't possible with the free interaction. Or I could use the dodge action, so the goblins will roll any attacks against me with disadvantage. I love playing as a tank. Check out this video for a ridiculous build. So for me, it's a choice between the shield and the dodge. Now you might think that the shield is the better choice here, but thinking short term, it isn't. Disadvantage removes on average 3 to 4 from every die roll, which is better than the 2 armor class bonus from the shield. Of course, if I equip the shield this turn, it will still be equipped next turn, but I'm thinking short term here, and most D&D combats are over in 2 to 3 rounds anyway. So I choose to dodge, and I'll be skipping my movement because I don't want to trigger lots of opportunity attacks. I have a bonus action left, and I use it to cast Healing Word to heal up after that hit I took. Since I have a free interaction, I might as well grab a potion from my belt just in case. And I spend my communication to shout out to the party to help thwart the goblin threat. So that's what you can do on your turn in D&D. Many of the actions you take require some kind of D20 roll, whether it's a skill check or attack roll. You can learn more about attacks, skill checks, and D&D dice in this video. And if you're wanting to improve your battlefield tactics like Zunun, check out this one. Make sure you subscribe for more D&D tutorials, tips, and resources. And until next time, happy adventuring.